In the last episode, we saw that when Mu Xiang went to leave with her brother, Qiao Nan got extremely angry and started following her. When Mu Xiang saw Qiao Nan, he gestured for her not to sit in the car with his brother. However, since Ryu had insisted a lot, Mu Xiang ended up getting into the car. The moment she sat in, Qiao Nan arrived and started forcefully pulling her out, which led to Ryu stepping in to push Qiao Nan away. Qiao Nan then looked at them with anger and smiles by telling them that he will go alone. Ryu then asked his brother who this girl was who was being so forceful with him. To this, Mu Xiang replies that this isn't a girl but a boy. Hearing this, Ryu thought his brother had completely lost his mind, but Mu Xiang clarified by saying that this boy is a little crazy, that's all. Meanwhile, Qiao Nan's father was feeling hot but refused to take off the coat his son had given him. Just then, Ryu arrived with Mu Xiang, and Qiao Nan's father praised his son. He even said that not only has he become great at studying, but he's even tutoring kids from the Taekwondo club. Does this mean he needs money, he added. Hearing this, Qiao Nan's stepmother gestured for him to stop talking, while Mu Xiang wondered if her efforts to become good had caused some sort of trouble. She then told Qiao Nan's father that he needed money, which is why he was studying so hard. Hearing this, Qiao Nan's father became extremely angry and yelled, saying he always knew Qiao Nan could never change. This made Mu Xiang burst into tears, and she ran to her room. Ryu was shocked once again, couldn't help but wonder what had bitten his brother this time. Meanwhile, Qiao Nan's stepmom began scolding his father, asking why he acted that way, especially since Qiao Nan had been trying his best. Dismissing her, Qiao Nan's father took off his son's coat and threw it away, saying he had mistakenly thought his son had changed, but he was still useless. Later, Mu Xiang called Qiao Nan and told him everything, adding that her good behavior might be raising suspicions among his family. Taking this opportunity, Qiao Nan told her that all of this happened because she went with Ryu. He then added that from now on, she would have to deal with his family in a harsher way. Just then, Ryu came to the door with a glass of milk and handed it to Mu Xiang, saying it felt good to see that Qiao Nan was changing. Because earlier, whenever there were fights, he would disappear for days. Mu Xiang, in a sulky tone, replied that she was smart and would stay at home because she wasn't a kid anymore. She had decided that she would behave just like Qiao Nan. To prove her point, she took the glass of milk to the washroom and dumped it right in front of Ryu. After Ryu left, she felt awful because she had never treated anyone like that, but she thought it was necessary to clear everyone's suspicions. The next morning, Mu Xiang was quietly sneaking out of the house to avoid being stopped. Just as she opened the gate to step outside, she came face to face with Ryu, who startled her. Ryu was holding Qiao Nan's favorite toy and had brought it for him. Seeing this, Mu Xiang is utterly confused about what to do, so she simply leaves for school without accepting the gift. Meanwhile, when Mu Xiang's mom enters her room and she notices the state of her daughter's hair, she assumes Mu Xiang stayed up all night studying, which is why she couldn't wake up on time. However, she soon discovers that Mu Xiang was actually reading comic books all night. Qiao Nan quickly covers for her and tells her mom that their literature teacher gave them this task. Hearing this, her mom calms down a bit and tells Mu Xiang to quickly get ready for school and, at the same time, advises her not to sleep with wet hair because it will ruin her hair. Qiao Nan, now ready for school, notices that his hair isn't cooperating, so he puts on a cap and heads out. At school, he sees Mu Xiang sitting with a notebook filled with numerous questions about him and his brother. Seeing all this, Qiao Nan's head starts spinning, realizing that now he will have to deal with even more drama. But Mu Xiang insisted that she needs to know the relationship dynamics between him and his brother. When Mu Xiang notices Qiao Nan's messy hair, she starts fixing it. She tells him that now that he is in a girl's body, he needs to take better care of himself. While saying this, she begins setting his hair properly and suggests he should use a blow dryer to prevent his hair from getting ruined. She even puts a hair clip in his hair. Qiao Nan is utterly baffled by her actions, thinking to himself, "This girl seriously believes I'm a girl." Strangely, he doesn't feel angry. In fact, he finds himself smiling and feeling slightly better on the outside, though he doesn't understand why. He decides not to say anything. He even starts liking the hair clip and leaves it in his hair. As he takes the notebook Mu Xiang gave him and walks away, he mutters to himself, "I have no idea how she can touch someone else's hair so casually." After he leaves, Mu Xiang remarks, "It's my own body I'm touching." Later in class, Qiao Nan starts answering the questions from Mu Xiang's notebook. While answering, he thinks to himself how, during his free time, he does nothing but measure the size of his dolls. Whether he's standing at a red light or crossing a road, he's always practicing Taekwondo moves. One day, when Qiao Nan stopped a kid from crossing the red light. After that, even that kid also joins him in practice whenever they see him. Thinking all this, Kiao Nan suddenly shouts loudly in class, drawing everyone's attention. To cover up, he starts pretending to swat away a mosquito. After class ends, Kiao Nan hands Mu Xiang the notebook and tells her that she shouldn't stay at home all the time. He suggests she should go out. Go clubs, do parties, or even visit a karaoke bar, especially since Ryu hates karaoke with a passion. However, Mu Xiang replies that she needs to study and prefers staying home. She also adds that she doesn't like such places at all before walking away. Watching her leave, Kiao Nan thinks to himself, this girl must have come from another planet. After meeting him, Mu Xiang goes to practice taekwondo. Kiao Nan's friends Li Ming and Ji watch her, wondering what's wrong with Kiao Nan that he has even forgotten taekwondo. Later that night, Mu Xiang calls Kiao Nan and complains that Ryu keeps bothering her repeatedly, sometimes bringing her milk, sometimes fruits, which is making it impossible for her to study. She explains that she doesn't want to study in front of everyone because his family might start suspecting her again. Kiao Nan suggests that she go to a karaoke bar to study, as it's the only place where no one will disturb her, especially Ryu, who will never follow her there. Mu Xiang doesn't like the idea at all and is about to refuse when Ryu enters her room again and starts bothering her. Frustrated, she finally decides that she has no choice but to go to the karaoke bar. She gets ready, packs her books, and heads to karaoke to study. As soon as Mu Xiang arrives at the karaoke bar, the staff greets her warmly and escorts her to her room. Seeing this, Mu Xiang can't help but think that Kiao Nan must be a regular at this club. Once in the room, she sets everything up and turns off the sound system. After the staff leaves, she takes out her books and starts studying. But to her dismay, Ryu manages to track her down even here. He enters the room and is utterly shocked to see his brother studying in such a place. He asks her in disbelief if she is really studying here. Seeing Ryu, Mu Xiang panics and quickly excuses herself, heading to the washroom. Inside, she immediately calls Kiao Nan, unsure of how to handle the situation. When Kiao Nan learns that his brother has shown up at the karaoke bar, he doesn't believe it and accuses Mu Xiang of lying. To convince him, Mu Xiang holds up the phone so Kiao Nan can hear Ryu's voice in the background. Realizing it's true, Kiao Nan quickly says he'll come over and starts getting ready. As he heads out, Mu Xiang's mom and dad try to stop him from going out alone so late at night. But Kiao Nan makes up an excuse and leaves anyway. Meanwhile, Mu Xiang is extremely stressed because she has an exam the next day, and Ryu simply won't let her study. Finally, Kiao Nan arrives at the karaoke bar and, upon seeing Mu Xiang's adorable state of panic, can't help but smile at her. When Ryu notices Kiao Nan, he turns to Mu Xiang and asks, "Isn't this the same girl we met at school? What is she doing here?" To cover up, Mu Xiang introduces Kiao Nan as her friend. At this point, Ryu starts introducing himself, but Kiao Nan shows no interest in talking to his brother. Still, he reluctantly makes small talk with him. When the three of them enter the karaoke room, Kiao Nan begins singing his heart out, leaving Ryu astonished. Ryu wonders how so much energy could come from such a small body. Afterward, Ryu begins ordering food, but his bland choices make Kiao Nan scoff. He remarks, "No one here is sick to eat such dull food," and instead orders an excessive amount of spicy dishes. Ryu, a bit taken aback, asks if Kiao Nan can really handle such spice. Kiao Nan shoots him a defiant look, but Mu Xiang interrupts and says firmly that he won't be able to eat it. Protesting, Kiao Nan retorts, "You can't stop me. It's my body, and I'll do what I want." Mu Xiang calmly reminds him, "Actually, it's my body and I know it can't handle that level of spice." Reluctantly, Kiao Nan gives in to her logic. Observing their back and forth, Ryu suddenly says, "Now I understand everything about what's going on between you two." Both of them freeze in surprise. Ryu smirks and playfully teases Mu Xiang through gestures, implying he thinks they're dating. After he leaves, Mu Xiang turns to Kiao Nan, confused, and asks, "What was with his eye gestures? What does he mean?" Kiao Nan immediately understands what his brother is hinting at, but chooses not to explain. Instead, he starts telling Mu Xiang why his relationship with Ryu is strained. He shares that Ryu used to care for him a lot, especially after their mother passed away. Ryu was like a parent figure to him. However, one day, without informing Kiao Nan, Ryu left to study abroad. Not only did he leave, but he never called Kiao Nan from there and didn't even answer his calls. After Ryu left, he was completely alone because everyone at home blamed him, and no one supported him. That's why he harbors deep hatred for each member of his family, since no one stood by him when he needed them the most. And now that he has learned to live without them, Ryu behaves with him as if nothing ever happened. While saying this, Kiao Nan becomes emotional, and tears well up in his eyes. Mu Xiang places her hand on his shoulder to calm him down. and she finally understands why Qiao Nan always behaves the way he does. It's because he feels incredibly lonely. The next day, when Mu Xiang was on his way to school, he met Ryu outside the school. Ryu stops Qiao Nan and asks if he recognized him. Teasingly, Qiao Nan replies that his memory isn't so weak that he would forget him. Ryu, laughing, hands him a box and asks him to give it to his brother since he can't deliver it himself. Hearing this, Qiao Nan wonders in his mind why Ryu is behaving as if he cares about him. Despite Ryu repeatedly requesting, Qiao Nan bluntly says that he isn't anyone's servant and refuses to deliver the parcel before walking away. After Qiao Nan leaves, Ryu starts thinking that this girl's personality is very similar to his brother's and perhaps that's why she might be his friend. Meanwhile, back at home, Mu Xiang was studying, but she couldn't understand a question. Ryu helps her with the answer and assists her with her studies. Seeing this, Mu Xiang gets impressed by him. Ryu tells his brother that he needs a peaceful environment to study. Only then will he be able to focus on his education properly. The next day, Ryu takes Mu Xiang to a large library and tells her that he has rented the upper floor of the library exclusively for his brother so he can study properly until his exams. Seeing this, Mu Xiang feels extremely happy, knowing that she can now study peacefully. Ryu then gives her an earpiece to help with her studies. This makes Mu Xiang even happier, and she even takes a selfie with Ryu. The following day, when Qiao Nan's father sees books scattered all over the table at home, he angrily yells that Qiao Nan is useless because he has left all his books and study materials lying around. Just as he starts to pick them up, Ryu arrives and stops him. Ryu tells him that Qiao Nan has his exams coming up, so his father shouldn't say anything to him because Qiao Nan is studying diligently. Hearing this, his father is shocked, and upon returning to his room, he tells his wife that their sons have changed a lot, and it feels like they've exchanged their souls. A few days later, Qiao Nan comes to the same library as Mu Xiang. When he finds out that Ryu rented such a big library floor just for him, he can't believe it. Mu Xiang tells him that he should focus on studying because he is now in the body of a class topper, and if he doesn't study, she'll end up failing because of him. Hearing this, Qiao Nan reassures her not to worry, saying he will manage everything. When Mu Xiang gets up to drink water, Ryu hands her warm water, saying the cold water must have cooled down by now. Qiao Nan doesn't feel good seeing this. Later, when Mu Xiang gets up again to grab a book, Ryu hands her the book she was looking for, asking if this was the one she needed. Seeing this, Mu Xiang feels extremely happy, but Qiao Nan is not at all pleased to see Mu Xiang getting so close to Ryu. He confronts Mu Xiang, asking what exactly is going on between them and why they're behaving this way. Hearing this, Ryu replies that he is Qiao Nan's elder brother and is simply taking care of his brother, so why does she care so much? This response leaves Qiao Nan furious, and he sits in silence. However, the next time Mu Xiang gets up, Qiao Nan also stands up and tells her that whatever she needs, she should just tell him, and he will bring everything for her. But before Mu Xiang can say anything, Ryu interjects, saying he knows Qiao Nan wants to go to the washroom and offers to take him there. Saying this, Ryu takes Mu Xiang along with him, and Mu Xiang walks away smiling. This infuriates Qiao Nan even more. His anger boils over when he notices that Mu Xiang has set a selfie of herself with Ryu as her phone wallpaper. He feels his blood boiling, thinking about what Ryu is planning with Mu Xiang. Back at home, Qiao Nan's father is making buns for him. He gives one to Qiao Nan's stepmother to taste and asks her how it is. Upon taking a bite, tears well up in her eyes because the bun is extremely salty and spicy. However, she doesn't say anything to him. And Qiao Nan's father assumes that the bun is so delicious it brought tears to her eyes. Feeling proud of himself, he starts praising his own cooking skills even more. Just then, Mu Xiang arrives, and Qiao Nan's father serves her a bun as well. At first glance, Mu Xiang becomes very happy, but as soon as she tastes it, her head starts spinning, and she wonders what kind of poison this is, especially since her father makes such amazing buns. Slowly, she starts eating the bun because she doesn't want to tell Qiao Nan's father that it tastes terrible. When Qiao Nan's father proudly goes to the kitchen to get more buns, Qiao Nan's stepmother hurriedly packs buns into Mu Xiang's school box and sends her off, saying she's getting late for school. In reality, she was protecting Mu Xiang from the unkenshin and chaos. Watching her leave, Qiao Nan's father suddenly remembers that he forgot to take some buns for his friends. He asks his wife for more buns, but she refuses, saying the doctor has advised against it, and quickly leaves the scene. Meanwhile, on the other side, Mu Xiang's father had also made delicious buns, which Qiao Nan ate with great enthusiasm. Just then, their landlady came downstairs again and began scolding Mu Xiang's mother. The landlady owned a restaurant and would often make Mu Xiang's mother work as a waitress without ever paying her. The previous night, Mu Xiang's mother accidentally spilled some soup and injured her hand, but instead of showing concern, The landlady yelled at her and demanded compensation. Qiao Nan witnessed all this, growing angrier by the minute. When the landlady tried to take more goods for free, Qiao Nan confronted her and asked her to pay for what she was taking. The landlady argued even more, but Qiao Nan pointed at Mu Xiang's mother's injured hand and asked if she couldn't see her injury. This shut the landlady up for a moment, but she quickly accused Mu Xiang's mother of borrowing money from her the previous night, which she claimed was the reason she was taking goods for free now. Hearing this, Qiao Nan was shocked but stood his ground. Mu Xiang's father, trying to ease the situation, offered the landlady some buns as an apology on behalf of his daughter. This infuriated Qiao Nan, who lashed out at him, questioning him as to why they kept giving free things to such a rude and unreasonable person. The landlady, offended, claimed that Qiao Nan lacked respect for his elders and attempted to touch his hand as a warning. Qiao Nan instinctively jerked her hand away, which the landlady exaggerated, claiming he had hit her. She then announced that she would raise their rent. Hearing this, Mu Xiang's father scolded Qiao Nan harshly. Angry and frustrated, Qiao Nan stormed out of the house, kicking the table on his way out, and went to school. Watching this, the landlady declared she would further increase the rent and left, taking some buns with her. After she left, Mu Xiang's parents sat down, utterly exhausted and emotionally overwhelmed, trying to process everything that had just happened. Mu Xiang's father often feels guilty, believing that he has failed as a good husband and father. He also regrets dragging his daughter into all the hardships they face. His wife tries to comfort him, insisting that this isn't true, but he remains deeply saddened. Meanwhile, Qiao Nan overhears this conversation from outside. It dawns on him why Mu Xiang is always juggling between her studies and part-time jobs, because her father is under so much pressure. He decides that he must step in and help with the financial situation himself, especially since he has already spent his pocket money and can't bear to see Mu Xiang's parents in such distress. Qiao Nan has started considering them as part of his own family. At school, Qiao Nan meets Mu Xiang and asks her for help. He tells her that he desperately needs money and suggests she ask her father to lend him some. However, Mu Xiang refuses, explaining that her relationship with Qiao Nan's father has only recently improved, and if she were to ask for money now, it might seem like Qiao Nan had only been trying to mend their bond for financial gain. Hearing this, Qiao Nan grows frustrated. Mu Xiang, sensing something is off, asks why he needs the money. She wonders if it has something to do with his argument with the landlady and whether she has raised their rent because of it. Hearing this, Qiao Nan is shocked and starts to think Mu Xiang might have psychic powers because of how accurately she guessed the situation. However, he is determined not to let her find out the truth. If she learns that her guess is correct, she will undoubtedly scold him for getting into unnecessary trouble. To divert her suspicions, Qiao Nan lies and says he needs the money to fix the broken air conditioner in her room. Hearing this, Mu Xiang feels guilty, thinking that her problems are causing so much trouble for Qiao Nan. She promises to figure out a way to arrange some money. Relieved, Qiao Nan walks away with a smile, laughing to himself about how lucky he is that Mu Xiang didn't find out the truth. When Mu Xiang returns home, she decides to ask Qiao Nan's father for money but stops when she notices how troubled he looks. She decides against it and begins to walk away when she runs into her brother Ryu. Ryu notices her hesitation and asks why she looks so worried. Mu Xiang hesitantly explains that he is in desperate need of money. Ryu offers her the money, but she declines, saying it's not for her but for a friend. Instead, she asks if Ryu can help her friend get a job at his hotel. Ryu smirks and asks if the friend is the same girl he suspects. But Mu Xiang, surprised, ends up revealing that the friend is her. Ryu agrees to help and assures her that he'll handle it. Mu Xiang thanks him and later informs Qiao Nan that Ryu has offered him a job at the hotel. However, when he came to know, Qiao Nan immediately refused, saying he would never lower his pride to work at his brother's hotel, especially not in this situation. But as he reflects on Mu Xiang's family struggles, he realizes how his actions have contributed to their troubles. Reluctantly, he agrees to take the job. The next day, when they arrive at Ryu's hotel, both Qiao Nan and Mu Xiang are stunned and embarrassed to find Ryu welcoming them with an elaborate display, a decorated signboard, and flowers in hand. Seeing this, Mu Xiang mutters to Qiao Nan, "Do you think your brother has lost his mind?" Qiao Nan, unfazed, replies that this is just how Ryu is. He always does things on a grand scale. As Ryu approaches with the flowers, he enthusiastically hands them to Qiao Nan and formally welcomes him. However, Qiao Nan brushes him off with an attitude and walks past him. Ryu, puzzled, turns to Mu Xiang and asks if his friend didn't like the grand gesture. Mu Xiang laughs and reassures him, saying everything was perfect. It's just that she doesn't even like herself most of the time. Ryu starts the hotel tour by taking them to his office. While Ryu talks about the hotel, Kyo-nan casually begins inspecting the items in the office. Unfortunately, he accidentally breaks something important, leaving Muxiang mortified. She braces herself for Ryu to get upset, but to her surprise, Ryu just smiles and brushes it off without saying a word. Finally, Kyo-nan sits on Ryu's chair and asks what he needs to do for the job. After finishing the tour, Ryu explains that they have an opening for a waiter position, which pays quite well. As Kyo-nan relaxes in Ryu's chair, he declares that he doesn't want to do any of the jobs offered. Muxiang tries to cover for him, telling Ryu that her friend is acting this way because she isn't feeling well. Ryu suggests that the friend could work in the kitchen. But Muxiang quickly responds that she has asthma, so it wouldn't be possible. Ryu then proposes a cashier's job. But Kyo-nan refuses again, saying that she doesn't like interacting with strangers. Gradually, Kyo-nan dismisses every job option Ryu mentions, giving excuses for why they aren't suitable. Finally, Muxiang loses her temper and snaps. Do you want to just sit here, do no work, and still get a high salary? Or are you expecting to get paid for doing nothing? Kyo-nan smugly replies that he could occasionally help out. This infuriates Muxiang and she storms out of the restaurant. Kyo-nan follows her, asking why she left so suddenly. Muxiang retorts that all his antics are ruining her reputation while he's in her body. Kyo-nan, feeling defensive, admits that he doesn't like Ryu at all and can't stand it when Muxiang happily chats with him. Still angry, Muxiang counters by accusing him of causing trouble with the landlady, and she knows that will definitely lead to the rent increase. She then hands him money, saying it was her emergency savings, and tells him to give it to her parents. Kyo-nan, realizing the extent of his mistakes, feels ashamed. He hands the money back and declares that he will work as a waitress at the hotel to earn the money himself. He promises that since he's in Muxiang's body, he will act responsibly and take care of her family just as she would. Later, Muxiang tells Kyo-nan that she misses her parents terribly and plans to visit them under the guise of taking him home. Kyo-nan panics, knowing that if she goes home, she'll discover the full extent of the fight with the landlady and become very angrier with him. He tries to stop her, but Muxiang, confident in her physical strength while in Kyo-nan's body, lifts him out of the way and leaves. When Muxiang in Kyo-nan's body arrives home and sees her father, she's overwhelmed with joy. Introducing herself as Muxiang's friend, she expresses how much she's heard about the family. Her father is delighted, thinking that his daughter has finally made a friend, and invites Kyo-nan to stay for lunch. As they sit for lunch, Muxiang, out of habit, takes sauce from the fridge and places it on the table. Her family looks at her in astonishment, wondering how Kyo-nan knew their routine. Realizing her mistake, Muxiang freezes, feeling everyone's eyes on her. Thinking quickly, she says, "Your daughter must have told me about these little habits." Her family accepts the explanation, but Muxiang knows she'll have to be more careful moving forward. Lunch begins, and out of habit, Muxiang in Kyo-nan's body again adjusts the roof to prevent dust from falling into their food whenever the landlady walks on the floor above. Her family stares at her, confused by her behavior. Kyo-nan internally panics, thinking, "This girl is going to expose us for sure." Quickly, Muxiang explains, "Your daughter is such a good friend of mine. She told me about all these little things." Her explanation calms everyone down, and they begin eating. As Muxiang eats her mother's homemade food after so long, she becomes overwhelmed with emotion and starts crying. Kyo-nan looks at her in disbelief and thinks, what kind of drama is she pulling now? But her mother, noticing the tears, gently asks, "Why are you crying, dear?" Muxiang, still emotional, replies, "Your food reminds me of my own mother." Touched, her mother asks about Kyo-nan's mother. Without thinking, Kyo-nan blurts out she's no longer with us. Hearing this, Muxiang's parents look at each other in silent understanding. Assuming that Kyo-nan has had a difficult life, they feel even worse when Muxiang adds, "I live with my father, my brother, and my stepmother." Muxiang's mother and father exchange glances, silently concluding that Kyo-nan's stepmother must mistreat him. They begin to feel pity for him. Breaking the silence, Muxiang's father asks, "What does your father do?" Caught off guard, Muxiang hesitates, unsure of what to say. Kyo-nan, seizing the moment, confidently answers, "He's a multi-millionaire and the chairman of a restaurant chain." Muxiang's parents are stunned, unable to believe that the son of such a wealthy man is friends with their daughter. Their astonishment deepens as they realize how much Kyo-nan respects and values their family despite his background. These conversations are overheard by the landlady, who immediately starts bad-mouthing Muxiang, accusing her of trying to trap a rich boy. Hearing this, Kyo-nan becomes furious and is about to confront her, but Muxiang quickly calms him down, telling him it's not worth it. The landlady had come to tell Muxiang's mother to work as a free waitress again. after sending Mu Xiang's mom upstairs to work. The landlady shamelessly sits down and starts eating the family's food without permission. Watching this blatant disrespect, Qiao Nan becomes even angrier, but once again Mu Xiang holds him back, insisting they avoid unnecessary trouble. As the landlady leaves, she makes a snide remark to Mu Xiang, saying, "I know you're trying to trap that rich boy," and even refers to Qiao Nan as her future husband before walking away. Both Qiao Nan and Mu Xiang feel extremely awkward hearing this, and her father looks mortified. However, he manages to diffuse the tension, brushing off the landlady's remarks. Seeing her father handle the situation so gracefully makes Mu Xiang feel a little proud, and she begins chatting with him warmly. Watching Mu Xiang happy and relaxed in her home after such a long time, Qiao Nan can't help but feel content as well. Later, when Mu Xiang finally returns to her room after many days, she feels a deep sense of comfort and familiarity. Meanwhile, Qiao Nan apologizes to her, admitting that he should have been honest about the rent issue from the beginning. He promises to take full responsibility and work hard as a waiter at Ryu's hotel to earn money and help her father with the rent. His sincerity touches Mu Xiang, and for the first time in days, she feels a sense of relief knowing that Qiao Nan is truly trying to make things right. This was the moment when Qiao Nan made up his mind not to ask his father or anyone else for money again. He decided he would handle everything on his own. Hearing this, Mu Xiang felt a little better because, after all, Qiao Nan had fought with the landlady for the sake of her parents. So Mu Xiang didn't say anything more to Qiao Nan. At that point, Qiao Nan asked Mu Xiang if she now agreed that he was really cool, manly, and even more handsome than Ryu. Smiling, Mu Xiang admitted that yes, she did think Qiao Nan was extremely manly and handsome. Seizing the moment, Qiao Nan showed her his button and teased her, asking if she liked him. Embarrassed, Mu Xiang shyly looked away and didn't give him an answer. Later, Mu Xiang began sorting through some of her old belongings, smiling as she did so. Qiao Nan sat beside her, helping her go through the items. Spending time with Mu Xiang made Qiao Nan feel genuinely happy and content. That night, the landlady scolded Mu Xiang's parents harshly and made them work relentlessly. When it was time to leave, Mu Xiang stepped out with Qiao Nan to go home. As they walked, they saw her parents still helping the landlady, who continued to berate them. Seeing this, Qiao Nan remained quiet, as he had grown used to staying silent whenever Mu Xiang told him to. However, things took a turn when the landlady remarked from a distance that Mu Xiang's parents were probably trying to marry her off to a rich man so they could secure a better life for themselves. This time, Mu Xiang couldn't hold back. She yelled at the landlady, telling her to stop talking and that she had no right to give orders to her parents. She reminded the landlady that her parents were not her property and that she hadn't bought them. Even after this, the landlady didn't calm down. She retorted that this rich boy was speaking up so much now, even though he had no real ties to the house. This enraged Mu Xiang, and she shouted back that the landlady had no idea how powerful her father was. She said that if her father wished, he could buy this small restaurant and have it demolished in no time. She sternly warned the landlady to mind her language and keep quiet. Mu Xiang also added that if the landlady ever dared to trouble her parents again, she wouldn't let her get away with it. With that, Mu Xiang walked away in style, leaving everyone stunned. Her parents were shocked to see this side of this boy, but Qiao Nan was deeply impressed. In his mind, he thought that Mu Xiang was exactly the kind of girl he had been looking for: strong, confident, and fearless. He resolved to make Mu Xiang his girlfriend no matter what. In the following days, both Mu Xiang and Qiao Nan tried to adapt to their respective lives. Mu Xiang took her taekwondo practice very seriously, training hard and focusing on improving herself. On the other hand, Qiao Nan was excelling at his job as a waiter. He never complained or lost his temper, even in challenging situations. Meanwhile, Mu Xiang not only practiced diligently but also trained the other members of her taekwondo club. She taught them difficult moves and pushed them to improve their skills. When their teacher came to observe, they were astonished at the progress the club had made under Mu Xiang's guidance. The teacher decided to test Qiao Nan's abilities and asked him some very tough questions. To his surprise, Qiao Nan answered them all confidently and accurately. The teacher was impressed but also concerned. Because he wanted to disband the club, he gave Mu Xiang and the club 2 conditions. First, they had to win the upcoming tournament against a rival school. Second, all the club members needed to score at least 30% on their academic tests. Hearing this, Mu Xiang was thrilled. However, the rest of the club members were disheartened. While preparing for the tournament seemed manageable, studying and passing their exams felt like an impossible task for them. When Qiao Nan learned about the conditions, he was overwhelmed with gratitude. He thanked Mu Xiang from the bottom of his heart for saving the club from being shut down. Smiling, Mu Xiang simply replied, It's no big deal. Qiao Nan tells Mu Xiang that he has now become very skilled at his work, which makes Mu Xiang feel extremely proud of him. Qiao Nan then informs her that he will start helping her practice taekwondo so that she can win the upcoming tournament. From that day onward, Mu Xiang began practicing diligently under Qiao Nan's guidance. Meanwhile, the other students in the club, despite their lack of interest, are also trying their best to focus on their studies. They don't want the club to shut down. Mu Xiang initially struggles a lot with high jumps, but with Qiao Nan's constant encouragement, she shows significant improvement. At the hotel, Qiao Nan excels in his job as a waitress. Her manager praises her, saying that even though she has been working there for only a little over a week, her work is exceptional, and he is very impressed with her dedication. Hearing this, Qiao Nan thanks him and feels genuinely happy. She then continues serving food to the customers. At the hotel, even the manager called her and told her that she is working hard and orais her. However, while serving a particular table, one man starts misbehaving with her, touching her hand and flirting inappropriately. This makes Qiao Nan feel extremely uncomfortable, but she decides not to create a scene. But when the man crosses the line by touching her inappropriately on her back, Qiao Nan's anger flares up. She kicks the man hard, causing him to yell in pain. The commotion draws the attention of the manager, who drags Qiao Nan outside and scolds her. He tells her that even if the customer behaved badly, she should have informed him first instead of resorting to violence. He then orders Qiao Nan to apologize to the customer. This angers Qiao Nan even more and he refuses to apologize. Instead, he quits her job on the spot and leaves. Later, outside her home, Qiao Nan tells Mu Xiang everything that happened. She apologizes and says she's ready to be scolded for her actions but promises to find another job soon. To her surprise, Mu Xiang doesn't scold her. Instead, she praises Qiao Nan for standing up for herself and protecting her dignity. She tells Qiao Nan that she did the right thing by defending herself against wrongdoing. Hearing this, Qiao Nan feels incredibly happy and asks Mu Xiang if she still finds him as manly, charming and handsome as ever, even more so than Ryu. Mu Xiang smiles and assures him that he is indeed the most charming of all. Just then, Qiao Nan receives a call from her manager, who informs her that Mr. Yan, the owner of the hotel, has summoned her. Qiao Nan heads to meet him. Upon arriving, Mr. Yan tells her that the customer she kicked is creating a scene and has now agreed to apologize to her, but only if Qiao Nan first apologizes to him. Mr. Yan further explains that if Qiao Nan refuses, the customer has threatened to file a case against the hotel. Therefore, Mr. Yan insists that she apologize to the customer to resolve the situation. However, Qiao Nan firmly refuses, stating that she has done nothing wrong and will not apologize. Her confident demeanor reminds Mr. Yan of a previous encounter at another restaurant, where he had seen this young woman. Qiao Nan has already made herself comfortable in Mr. Yan's office, acting as though it were her own space. Mr. Yan observes her boldness and comments that although she seems young, she is incredibly brave. On the other hand, when Ryu learns about the man who misbehaved with her brother's girlfriend, he becomes furious. He drags the customer outside and demands to know if he should now file a harassment case against him for his behavior. During this time, through the conversation, Mr. Yan realizes that Qiao Nan is friends with his son. He recalls a day when Ryu returned home from karaoke and told him that Qiao Nan might be dating a girl and had been spending a lot of time with her. Observing Qiao Nan's fearless attitude and her influence, Mr. Yan begins to understand why his son has undergone such positive changes recently. He directly asks Qiao Nan if the two of them are dating. Qiao Nan smiles and responds confidently, "Not yet, but we will soon." She then boldly requests her 1 week's salary. Mr. Yan is amused and impressed by her honesty. Qiao Nan's father feels delighted. He is overjoyed at the thought that his son is finally dating someone who not only stands her ground but is also positively influencing his behavior and habits. Mr. Yan tells Qiao Nan that she doesn't need to apologize to the customer and also offers her the opportunity to return to work at the hotel. Qiao Nan accepts the offer and leaves on a positive note. Some time later, a large sum of money is credited to Mu Xiang's father's bank account. Confused about the source of the funds, he begins asking everyone about it. At that moment, Qiao Nan steps forward, holding her phone, and reveals that the money was sent by him as rent. This surprises her father, and also Mu Xiang's mother, who arrives and immediately questions Mu Xiang about how she managed to arrange such a large amount of money. Qiao Nan steps in and explains that he got a job as a waitress at his friend's brother's hotel and that the money is from his 1 week's salary. Hearing this, Mu Xiang's mother is shocked because this amount is significantly more than what she earns monthly while working for their landlady. Qiao Nan then confidently states that they no longer need to bow down to their witch-like landlady or give her anything for free. He assures them that no matter how much she raises the rent, he will handle it from now on. Saying this, Qiao Nan leaves, leaving Mu Xiang's parents in disbelief. That night, Mu Xiang's parents sit together, discussing the situation. They begin wondering if their daughter might actually be dating Qiao Nan, the wealthy boy. They reason that it would explain why someone would help her get a job at his brother's hotel. They also reflect on how much Mu Xiang has changed lately after cutting her hair short and adopting a more confident demeanor, and how Qiao Nan seems to be the one taking care of her. Although they find the idea a bit hard to believe, considering Qiao Nan's affluent background, they agree that he seems like a good person. With these thoughts lingering, they fall asleep. The next day, Mu Xiang and Qiao Nan are sitting together, chatting about everything that's been happening. When Jiang arrives with soft drinks for himself and Mu Xiang, Qiao Nan walks over to Jiang, places a hand on his shoulder, and calls Mu Xiang over, casually telling her, "Jiang is my friend." Hearing this, Jiang feels uneasy because, until now, he had assumed that Mu Xiang had become his girlfriend. The realization unsettles him as the dynamic between the three becomes increasingly complicated. At that moment, Mu Xiang subtly signals to Qiao Nan to remove his hand from Jiang's shoulder. Complying, Qiao Nan takes it off, and then she takes a drink from Jiang and hands it over to Mu Xiang. After finishing their drinks, both Mu Xiang and Qiao Nan thank Jiang. Meanwhile, Xin is watching everything from a distance, and jealousy begins to consume her. She is upset because Mu Xiang, who now hangs out with all the popular boys at school, seems to be stealing Jiang's attention as well. Driven by anger, Xin sneaks over to Mu Xiang's bicycle with the intention of puncturing its tire. However, just as she's about to proceed, Qiao Nan appears and confronts her, asking what exactly she is trying to do. When he realizes her intentions, he accuses her of acting out because she's upset about Mu Xiang talking to Jiang. Understanding Xin's feelings, Qiao Nan calmly tells her to follow him, suggesting that they talk it out. Meanwhile, Mu Xiang notices Ji, one of her classmates, looking unusually sad. When she asks him what's wrong, Ji confesses that he likes a girl but is heartbroken because she claims she doesn't even know who he is. Mu Xiang offers to help him talk to her, trying to lift his spirits. On the rooftop, Qiao Nan and Xin are having a private conversation. Qiao Nan reassures Xin that Mu Xiang doesn't like Jiang romantically, as her heart seems to belong to someone else. However, Xin refuses to believe him, still convinced that Mu Xiang is trying to steal Jiang from her. To make Xin believe, Qiao Nan starts criticizing Jiang, subtly mocking him while suggesting ways Xin could win him over. He advises Xin to stay away from Jiang and not hover around him, explaining that boys generally dislike girls being overly clingy. Qiao Nan even suggests that Xin should ignore Jiang altogether to make him realize her worth. Qiao Nan's words confuse Xin, but she listens intently, wondering if his advice could help her gain Jiang's attention. Upon hearing this, Xin asks Qiao Nan if she would like to be her friend. Qiao Nan agrees, and they decide to become friends. Meanwhile, Miu advises Jiang Ji that to impress girls, he should watch romantic movies and dramas. Taking this advice to heart, Ji begins watching romantic movies on the bus and starts imagining how he can use these ideas to impress his crush. The next day, when his crush is trying to pick a book from the library shelf, Ji puts on a coat, as he saw in the movies, and tries to help her get the book. This small gesture impresses his crush a bit, but Ji, feeling overly hot in the coat, runs out of the library in discomfort. Later, Jai decides to follow his next plan from his notes. He instructs one of his friends to untie his crush's shoelace while they're in the canteen. As planned, when his friend points out the untied shoelace, then at the exact moment Ji makes a grand entrance, kneels down stylishly, and ties her shoelace. He thinks this move will leave a great impression on her. However, as he gets up, he accidentally bumps his head on her tray, spilling food all over her. This ruins her clothes, and she yells at him in frustration. Seeing this, Jai is shocked and hurriedly leaves the scene, embarrassed. Now sitting at one place, Ji is flipping through his notes when Li Ming approaches him and asks what he's up to. Jai explains everything in detail. Laughing, Li Ming tells him, "Why are you even taking advice from Qiao Nan, who has never understood a girl's feelings?" Realizing the truth in Li Ming's words, Jai decides that he's been wasting his time on pointless schemes. At home, Qiao Nan was exercising, but Mu Xiang's body was feeling extremely uncomfortable due to exhaustion. Just then, Mu Xiang's father brought him some late-night noodles. Eating them made Qiao Nan feel much better and relaxed. As he was enjoying the noodles, he received a message from Jiang, who was inviting Mu Xiang to an escape house. Initially, Nan ignored the invitation, but after a while he thought of inviting Xin as well. He figured it would be a good opportunity to bring Jiang and Xin closer and help them get along. So, he agreed to Jiang's invitation and also invited Xin. The next day, when Xin arrived at the escape house, Jiang was surprised and whispered to Mu Xiang, asking why she had invited her since she was a known bully. Qiao Nan reassured him, saying that it was all in the past and that Xin was his friend now. The three of them entered the escape house together, where they had to search for clues to solve a mystery. After Jiang briefly left the room, Qiao Nan took the opportunity to explain his plan to Xin. He told her that he specifically chose this horror-themed escape house so she could act brave in front of Jiang and subtly ignore him to pique his interest. Xin agreed to go along with the plan. When Jiang returned, he was excited and suggested they start solving the puzzles. Xin proposed that they all focus in one direction to find clues, and everyone happily agreed. Jiang gave Qiao Nan a quick high five because he was feeling confident. However, when Jiang tried to high-five Xin, she ignored him and walked ahead, leaving Jiang stunned and wondering why she was behaving that way for the first time. The trio then started searching for clues in a new room. Xin was examining an area Jiang had already checked, so he told her not to bother looking there. But Xin, irritated, told him she didn't need his advice. While searching, Xin found a photo, and Qiao Nan subtly signaled her. Taking the cue, Xin pretended to be scared and jumped into Jiang's arms, saying she was terrified. However, when she looked at Jiang, she was shocked to find that he was even more frightened than her. He stood frozen in fear, unable to move, clearly more scared of the situation than anyone else. This made Xin question whether Jiang was as brave as she initially thought. On the other hand, seeing Qiao Nan's father angry, his mother tells Mu Xiang that he should leave, as his father might still be upset. Mu Xiang insists he hasn't done anything wrong and decides to explain everything to his father. He apologizes to him, admitting that the commotion at the hotel was caused because of his friend. However, his father interrupts, angry not about the incident but about the possibility of his son dating at such a young age. He emphasizes that Qiao Nan should focus on his studies instead. Hearing this, Mu Xiang immediately denies the accusation, saying they aren't dating. But his father counters, claiming the girl herself admitted that they were. Mu Xiang is shocked and says the girl must be lying. Just then, Ryu arrives to clarify the situation. Meanwhile, back at the escape house, Jiang finds a clue and waits for the next door to open. Suddenly, two actors dressed as ghosts grab him and drag him into another room. Seeing this, Qiao Nan seizes the opportunity and tells Xin this is her chance to rescue Jiang and make him fall for her. Fired up, Xin confidently rushes off to save Jiang. On the other side, Ryu explains to Qiao Nan's father that the misunderstanding arose because the girl has a crush on Ryu, not Qiao Nan. She was only hanging around to get closer to Ryu, which led to the confusion. Hearing this, Mu Xiang thinks, what nonsense are they talking about me now? He brushes it off, saying that having a crush at this age is normal and assures his father that Qiao Nan is not involved in such matters. He's completely focused on his studies. With that, Ryu takes Mu Xiang and leaves. After they leave, Qiao Nan's stepmother approaches his father, telling him he shouldn't be so strict. She reminds him that he, too, had done similar things in his youth, and that he cannot stifle Qiao Nan's growth and experiences. Back at the escape house, the situation becomes chaotic. The two ghost actors grab Jiang's legs, while Xin grabs his head to pull him away. In the struggle, Jiang is unable to breathe and eventually faints, leaving Xin and the actors stunned at the unintended outcome. Seeing Jiang unconscious, the ghost actors panic and run away, leaving Xin alone with Jiang. Xin was leaning over Jiang with her hair and face close to his, trying to wake him up. The moment Jiang regains consciousness and opens his eyes, he sees Xin's disheveled appearance, startled and faints again. Meanwhile, Qiao Nan is crawling through a narrow space when he spots a ghost following him. Terrified, he rushes out and runs into Xin, hurriedly telling her to leave Jiang behind and save herself. Xin glances at Jiang, and upon noticing the same ghost approaching, also panics and flees with Qiao Nan. They both end up in a secret chamber where the final clue is located. Moments later, Jiang arrives, visibly angry and glaring at the two. When they ask how he managed to escape, Jiang smugly reveals that when more ghosts showed up, he pretended to faint again. As they examine Jiang's shirt, Xin and Qiao Nan notice strange marks on it and question him. Jiang explains that when he was pretending to be unconscious, the ghosts were walking on him, but he stayed completely still. Seizing the opportunity, Jiang then suggests Xin check another direction for clues, claiming they might be hidden there. In reality, the final clue was inside a coffin in the secret chamber, and Jiang only sent Xin away so he could share his feelings with Qiao Nan. While Qiao Nan busies himself trying to open the coffin, Jiang begins awkwardly confessing his feelings. However, Qiao Nan has no interest in hearing this and he walks off without saying a word. After finishing his confession, Jiang feels someone grab his hand. Thinking it's Mu Xiang, he turns around, but to his horror, it's the zombie king emerging from the coffin. Jiang just faints yet again fear. Shin rushes back and punches the zombie king, but instead of retreating, the zombie king warns her that she shouldn't have done that. He then summons all the ghosts, who begin capturing everyone. They grab Shin and lift her into the air, while Qiao Nan, trying to be the hero, returns with something in his hand. Shin and Jiang briefly feel hopeful, thinking Qiao Nan will save them. However, Qiao Nan trips and falls into the coffin, and the ghosts lock him inside. Jiang faints yet again, and Shin, seeing no way out, loses all hope of escaping alive. On the other hand, Ryu brought fruits for Muxiang, and when Muxiang offered some back to him, Ryu became emotional and started crying. He was overwhelmed because, after growing up, his brother had never treated him this way. He felt immense happiness knowing that his brother now regarded him as he did during their childhood. Hearing this, Muxiang felt bad for Ryu and began to think how wonderful it would have been if Qiao Nan had been here to hear this heartfelt moment. Meanwhile, after the ghosts left, Jiang and Shin attempted to open the coffin, but instead they locked it even tighter. A little while later, Qiao Nan began to struggle for breath. She told Shin to call Qiao Nan quickly. Shin called Qiao Nan and informed her that Muxiang was in danger and urgently needed her inhaler. Hearing this, Muxiang panicked and immediately ran out with the inhaler. However, when she saw Qiao Nan's bike, she hesitated, wondering if she would even be able to ride it. But then she reminded herself that Qiao Nan's muscle memory would likely handle everything, so she smoothly rode the bike in style and made a grand entrance. Once there, she exerted all her strength to open the coffin. Jiang was observing this and was visibly displeased. Muxiang lifted Qiao Nan out of the coffin and gave her the inhaler, finally bringing Qiao Nan back to consciousness. Muxiang apologized profusely, promising never to leave her alone like that again. Carrying Qiao Nan in her arms, she walked out of the scene. Seeing this, Shin remarked that it meant Muxiang didn't love someone else but was in love with Qiao Nan. However, Jiang, who was watching all of this, did not feel good about it at all. He was feeling extremely jealous because right in front of him, Muxiang had carried Qiao Nan away. In fact, the situation was completely the other way around. The next day, Muxiang was training all the Taekwondo club students when Jiang suddenly showed up to join the club. Jiang was deeply impressed by Qiao Nan's physical strength and skills. At first, Muxiang refused to let him join, but when all the students insisted on accepting Jiang, she eventually agreed and approved his membership form. Afterwards, as part of the initiation process, all the club members surrounded Jiang and gave him a simultaneous kick to welcome him. Jiang's t-shirt got severely damaged from all the kicks. Later, when Qiao Nan learned from Shin that Jiang had joined the Taekwondo club, she was utterly confused and couldn't understand why Jiang would do something like this. Shin explained that Jiang felt weak and wanted to become stronger, which is why he decided to join the club. Meanwhile, noticing how dirty Jiang's t-shirt had become, Muxiang handed him a new one, saying, "This is how we welcome new members here." Soon, exam day arrived. As the teacher was distributing the exam papers to all the students, she realized that one of the papers was missing. Suspecting foul play, she and another teacher, Mr. Go, decided to check the CCTV footage. While the footage didn't show anything clearly, the culprit's uniform suggested that it was someone from the Taekwondo club. Seeing this, Teacher Go becomes extremely furious and immediately calls the Taekwondo club's class teacher. He starts scolding him harshly, accusing his students of stealing the exam papers. Teacher Go claims that the students must have done it because they had promised to score more than 30%, which he believes is impossible for them. Therefore, in his opinion, they resorted to stealing the papers. Hearing this from outside the room, the students standing there felt a surge of anger because they hadn't done anything wrong. They all think about barging into the room and asking Teacher Go to stop making baseless accusations. However, Muxiang manages to calm them down, reminding them that the teachers are still discussing the matter. Meanwhile, Teacher Go continues to ignore the Taekwondo club's class teacher's repeated pleas to stop blaming the students. This behavior infuriates the Taekwondo club members, and they can no longer stay quiet. They storm into the office and firmly state that they haven't stolen anything. They even invite Teacher Go to check their lockers if he doesn't believe them. At this point, Teacher Go notices Jiang among the students and angrily yells at him, questioning why he is mingling with such troublemakers, since he's the school's topper. But Jiang confidently replies that instead of making baseless accusations, it would be better if Teacher Go simply checks their lockers to find the truth. As a result, all the Taekwondo club students are called to the ground, and their lockers are brought out for inspection so everyone can see who the real culprit is. But just before Teacher Go can start the inspection, Muxiang speaks up, asking him to think logically. She points out that if someone from the Taekwondo club had really stolen the papers, why would they do so while wearing their club uniforms? Because this would only make them even more suspicious. Muxiang adds that it's also possible that whoever actually stole the papers might have intentionally planted them in the Taekwondo club's lockers to frame them. Hearing this, Teacher Go finds some logic in her statement and reluctantly agrees to consider her point. At this moment, Mu Xiang takes it a step further and demands that if someone is indeed trying to frame their club, it is a very serious crime and they should involve the police. The mention of the police sends Jiang into a panic. He hurriedly tells the Taekwondo club members to let them check his locker. However, Mu Xiang corrected him sharply, saying, "Don't say them, say us, Jiang. Because you're also a member of the Taekwondo club now and suspicion falls on you too." Jiang starts panicking even more, stammering that there's no need to call the police. He argues that he only recently joined the club and doesn't even have a uniform yet, so how could he possibly be a suspect? But Mu Xiang isn't letting him off the hook so easily. She reminds him that he does have a uniform. She recalls an incident when Jiang, whether accidentally or intentionally, had spilled something while talking to Ji. At that time, Jiang had borrowed Zi's uniform to clean it, and it's still with him. This makes Jiang the prime suspect in everyone's eyes. Hearing this, Jiang is absolutely stunned, his face turning pale with shock. Just then, Qiao Nan comes running to the school ground, clutching the papers in his hand. Ready to reveal something important, Qiao Nan hands the paper to Teacher Go and says that it's no one's fault because she found the paper lying near the teacher's desk. She adds that it's possible the class monitor accidentally dropped the paper while arranging things. Hearing this, Jiang is left in shock and even Teacher Go accepts her explanation. Jiang, however, is utterly confused and unable to process what's happening. How did the paper end up there? Qiao Nan recalls the moment when Jiang was pulling Ji's uniform towards himself, intending to spill something on her, and Qiao Nan witnessed it all, and he suspected that Jiang's behavior was odd. Later, Qiao Nan tells Mu Xiang everything he saw. The fact that Jiang has Ji's uniform makes Mu Xiang suspicious too. That night, she and Qiao Nan decide to follow Jiang. Although they don't catch him entering the principal's office, both she and Qiao Nan notice Jiang placing something in Qiao Nan's locker. Qiao Nan secretly records this on video. Once Jiang leaves, the two of them check the locker and discover the item Jiang placed there. It's the stolen exam paper. This infuriates Qiao Nan because he now understands why Jiang joined the Taekwondo club in the first place, only to frame him. He had already been suspicious of Jiang, and now, filled with rage, Qiao Nan declares that he will post the video on social media and expose him. But Mu Xiang stops him and explains that Jiang did all this because of her. She reveals that Jiang must have seen them together that day in an awkward situation, and that's why he wanted to frame Qiao Nan. However, she also warns that if the video is leaked, it will completely ruin Jiang's career. Mu Xiang reassures Qiao Nan that this doesn't mean they'll let Jiang off the hook. Instead, she suggests teaching him a lesson in front of everyone. The two of them begin to plot how they'll expose Jiang in the most impactful way. Back in the present, Jiang is struggling to understand why Qiao Nan and Mu Xiang seem to be protecting him. If they have the stolen paper, they must know it was him. Or maybe they're planning to reveal everything in front of everyone now. Just then, Teacher Go asks about a boy seen passing by the principal's office in the CCTV footage. He demands an explanation, pointing to the screen. Seeing this, Qiao Nan and Mu Xiang exchange sly smirks, both glancing in Jiang's direction. At this moment, Jiang is convinced that they are about to name him and expose everything.